Ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to do another Quora digest question, and it's just a question I usually receive on my email, and I was just reading. It's just people typically asking questions and seeking advice, and I'm gonna read out some questions. Maybe you may have similar questions too, and I can do the very best of my ability to answer every single one of them. All right. Wait a minute. The first question: I cheated on my husband with his best friend. Am I a terrible human being, and how do I cope with this? Well, whoever this lady is, I say you are a terrible person. I'm not trying to sound facetious or mean, but let's be honest. You terrible as far as you have no honor or any kind of integrity, and you don't show any kind of respect for your husband. So you expect to cope with that? Well, first thing I think you should do is, divorce him and just divorce him. Just get out of his life and let him be with the woman that he deserves. I hate to sound mean with that. I hate to sound very mean, but you don't really need to be in this life. And it's really no much coping you can do with that because deep down you know that was wrong. But sometimes the temptation could be a little too great. You just can't resist the temptation. It can be a little too great, and I can understand you cheating. Well, you shouldn't be cheating anyway, so I don't understand. But I say I can understand a little bit if you cheating on your husband with some random dude, but you pick his best friends out of all people. My thing is though, what did he do to you that make you want to be so spiteful? And if I was the husband, you know, if I was the husband, I got a best friend to do that. He's not really much of a friend or a best friend at that. That's horrible, terrible. But my thing is though, let him move on with his life, you know, and the husband need to drop that so-called best friend he got. And as for you, you know, I guess you learn your lesson, move on, and think about what you did. Next time, think before you react. Is the just think about the consequences. Is it worth losing your family? Next question. My son saw me when I was taking a shower. What do I do? Wow, that's some strange question. Well, I guess what you should do is finish showering, get out the tub, dry off, and walk like it's nothing. Just think about it. Your son came from you. I mean, I don't think that your son, unless he a very, very, very sick person, I don't think your son is being a pervert for looking at his mom showering. Like he probably, it might have been an accident. Just walk out, put your clothes on, and do what you got to do. And depends on how old is your son. Because if you got a son, I'm just imagining he may be a teenager. He might be a teenager, and for the most part, I think that I say you may be a middle-aged woman, maybe in your 40s or late 30s. If you got a teenager, you might have been in your late 30s, 40s, possibly 50s. Yeah, I'd say middle age. And most women who are middle aged, their bodies are, they just have bigger bodies. They got wide hips, big breasts. You know, their body just look more. They got a little more weight on them. So most boys, especially teenage, they're not looking at no old woman and being perverted over that. And not to mention that's your son. He Now if your son got a friend over, yeah, now that could be embarrassing. So don't worry about it. Just do what you like normally do. Just get out, put your clothes on, and just be about your day. Ain't nothing to it. I don't know what kind of question is that. Oh, now here's a question that kind of hit homes right here. This question right here is a very interesting question. And this person asked a question: how do you psychologically torture a narcissist? And the reason why I kind of say this question kind of hit home is, and I'm going to be frank and I'm going to admit this, like I am somewhat of a narcissist myself, but I'm not as bad as I was, especially when I was like during my college years. I was so much of a narcissist that I was more arrogant. And one thing I can tell you is, just the idea, the concept of what a narcissist is. Most narcissists are driven by a false sense of superiority and entitlement. So, like any method used to take this into, you got to use to take this into consideration. They seek attention, they seek validation, they seek admiration. And another thing about a narcissist is that they don't really see fault in what they do. They do things, but they don't think that they do anything wrong, even though it's clearly wrong. They like to put the blame on other people instead of themselves. They see themselves as more important than anybody else. And I'm actually working on that because that's a personality disorder that I develop over time. Because me personally, though, I usually in a way kind of still am, seek attention from people. I seek validation, but I'm not really to the point where I don't show empathy towards people because I do have somewhat of an empathy. But I think back when I was much younger, I was a bigger narcissist. I do anything for attention. I do anything for people to acknowledge me. I tried to any kind of accomplishment I got, I make sure I show it off. It may not be an accomplishment. It may be something that I obtain. I be so quick to show everybody what I have because I'm actually seeking approval. I actually seeking people to acknowledge me. But you want to psychological torture a narcissist? Well, one thing I can tell you to do is don't really pay them no mind, even if they deserve if they deserve a congratulation or they deserves maybe a pat on the back. Oh, congrats, you did a good job. Don't engage that. And also, and I notice most people do this too. When they see a narcissist, they ignore them. And I think that's a one of the most effective way you can handle a narcissist. And also target their ego driven attitude. You know, let them give them at times give them criticism, even even if it's a criticism that basically affect their character. But when you put all that together, criticize them, you don't really show no appraisal towards them. You ignore any kind of attention seeking method they're trying to give to you. It kind of drives them more psychotic, and it'll just go through their head, and it'll turn them more depressed because they actually are insecure people, but narcissists use use their cockiness and their their false sense of superiority to mask it, but deep down they are very insecure. And once you like basically point out, not just point out, but just ignore them and don't acknowledge them and don't congratulate them, don't waste your time engaging them, they'll be hurt and they'll try all kind of ways to get you to acknowledge them. Because a lot of narcissists deep down, they are insecure, so they seek validation towards other people. As I can totally relate to that, and I'm actually working on that. And that's why I say that this actually hit homes, because I can think back when I was during my, one of my college years when I was like real young. I used to do things for attention. I used to try to get people to acknowledge me. I want to get people to talk to me. It got to the point where people actually thought that I was, of course, weird. I just used to want to do things unique. I used to try to engage in conversation, try to be like them. And at the same time, I think I was more superior to them. And come to find out, when you in college, you meet all types of people. You meet some people that excel in so many things. You think you excel in one thing, but somebody else can always be better. And they can and you know that, but you using a basement of false superior just to be on an equal playing field. And I noticed that it doesn't work. And I learned that real quick. Even as of recent, when I'm at like, when I'm like at work or whatever, I encountered some people, and they probably out the bat, they probably say, I think he got a little bit of narcissist, somewhat of an arrogance about him, because I just like the focus to be on me. And I'm spending a lot more time with this question right here because I can totally relate to that. And one thing I actually learned though, except I'm just saying somebody who is a narcissist, it's okay to admit that you have flaws. It's okay to be wrong, and it's okay to uh, to be insecure about what it is that you are insecure about. The first thing you should do is learn to love yourself. Learn to appreciate yourself. Don't be afraid to not be yourself. Be comfortable with who you are, and also know that there will be others that can, I won't say be better than you, but they might be better than you at certain things. There might be somebody out there who know more about you, who may have more experience or education than you, or just as much education as you are. Nobody is superior than the others. Just look at other people as somebody who's equal. And I'm giving myself this advice right here. Look at everybody as equal. Don't see yourself as superior, and don't look at yourself as inferior. Just think to yourself, this person, I'm giving an example. This person got a good career, he got a good house, and he has a wife. You know what? I might need to get with him and learn how he get that, so I can be just as good, so I can get just the same thing that he got. A good career, may not be the same career, but a good career, a good house, and a loving wife. That's how you should look at that's how you should look at life right there. Without being a total narcissist, without being jealous, without seeking admiration or attention. Learn to love yourself. The attention will come. People will admire you. Learn to be humble. That's the best way I can say to treat the psychological trait of a narcissist, and also get some mental health. But to psychological torture a narcissist, like I said earlier, just ignore them. Don't pay them. don't give them as much energy as you like. And also, don't be afraid to criticize them. They gotta learn. But that's the question right here. That end this question right here. And that's just a few questions I give, and this will end the Kuro question part one. Stay tuned because I may do more questions in the future. So tell me what you think about this. Hit me up, like, and subscribe.